How many generals and admirals have you fired?
I don't know the exact number. But
You don't know the number. It's 8. Can you explain why any of them were fired?
Not what I said. I didn't confirm any classification or
Okay, so if it is
what
confirmed,
I know is that
will you take
everything I
accountability?
share, everything I talk about.
Mr. Secretary, does accountability apply to you or not?
Is
What was the classification marking of the launch time when it was sent to you? Because DoD regulations require information on classified systems to be marked.
What was the classification mark time?
Yeah. What was the classification marking? Because
Again,
when you texted the launch time for F-18s going into combat over enemy territory facing anti-aircraft missiles on an unclassified signal chat, did that launch time come from Central Command, yes or no?
I know what you're referring to, and there were no
It's a very simple
targets or
question. Did it come from?
locations
It's a
or-
very simple question. Did it come from Central Command?
Well, in this committee, no way in which I communicate or what I communicate on a successful strike is something that I would share.
So you can't even identify the combatant command under which this operation occurred.
Well, everybody knows the
Okay, so everyone knows it's Central Command. So when Central Command sent you this information, did they send it on a classified system or an unclassified system?
Well, as you know, having served yourself, any way that the Secretary of Defense communicates or provides information in and of itself is classified and not to be discussed.
So what was the classification marking of the launch time when it was sent to you? Because DoD regulations require information on classified systems to be marked.
What was the classification mark time?
Yeah. What was the classification marking? Because
Again,
DoD
classifications of any information in an ongoing operation that was successful are not things that would be disclosed in a public forum.
But you can very well disclose whether or not it was classified. It's not classified to disclose whether or not it was classified. And in fact, DoD regulations state that any classified information has to be labeled with its classification. Was it classified secret or top secret?
What's not classified is that it was an incredibly successful mission against the Houthis.
Okay, so it was classified. So are you trying to say that the information was unclassified?
I'm not
Okay,
trying to say
that's what
anything.
I thought. You're not saying that. So you took classified information from Central Command that had a classification marking on it, because that's what's required by DoD regulations, and you put it on an unclassified system. So we're going to get a report in a few days from the DoD Inspector General. And if the DoD Inspector General finds what is pretty obvious, both to you smiling there in the witness seat and to all of us up here, that the information was, in fact, classified, do you plan to take any accountability for that?
As I pointed out at the time,
you said that accountability is back. Does that not apply to you?
as I said at the time, Congressman, there were no names, targets, locations, units, routes, sources, methods, no classified information.
Okay, so if it comes back that it is classified, will you take accountability or not? We've already established, you've already admitted that it was classified because everything you get from CENTCOM is classified. You just explained that to me. That's how you justified not answering the question.
Not what I said. I didn't confirm any classification or
Okay, so if it is
what
confirmed,
I know is that
will you take
everything
accountability?
I share, everything I talk about,
Mr. Secretary, does accountability apply to you or not?
is classified whether I talk or not.
Does it apply to you or not?
Does what apply to me?
Accountability. You said accountability is back at the Secretary.
And you know what? The Houthis were held accountable for shooting at our
I'm
ship
just asking if it applies to
very
you.
successfully.
I'm not asking about the
previous
Houthis.
administration let our ships get shot at, and nothing was done about it. And thankfully, because of the skill and courage of our troops on the battlefield,
I'm just asking about
we
I
actually
reclaim my
put them
time.
in a place
I
where
reclaim
they
my time.
called for a ceasefire.
I reclaim my time. I'm just asking if accountability applies to you. It's a very simple question. We use leadership by example.
Of course. Unlike, I serve at the pleasure of the president like everybody else does.
So it only applies to the president, not to you.
I serve at the pleasure.
You talked about the success of the Houthi operation. About how much money did it cost? How much money did you spend on missiles shooting at the Houthis?
Well, you'd have to compare that with what it cost.
I'm just asking how much did it cost?
Divert our shipping lanes around.
I'm told
the
it's
sea.
several $100 million, maybe close to $1 billion. How many U.S.-flagged commercial ships have transited the Red Sea since your so-called successful operation?
Well, thankfully, unlike the previous administration,
The answer is zero.
military vessels transit.
No, I didn't ask
just
about
this
military
week.
vessels. I
Well, which
asked
would
about
be the
commercial
precursor
vessels.
for
How many
civilian and
commercial vessels?
transit.
It's been several weeks. How many commercial vessels, U.S. flagged, have
Well,
transited the
would
Red
you, Mr. Congressman, put civilian ships
The
through
questions
dam
are not to
before
me,
military
Mr. Secretary,
ships? So
they're to you.
We have responsibly put military
The answer
ships
is zero.
through first.
I reclaim my time. How many generals and admirals have you fired?
I don't know the exact number, but...
You don't know the number. It's 8. Can you explain why any of them were fired? Like, just explain, why was the Army JAG fired? Why did you fire him?
They all serve at the pleasure of the president, and I think...
No, I'm just asking you why.
General Kane is a great example
I'm just asking you why.
That we
and
need
you probably learned at Princeton what why means. Why did you fire him?
They serve at the pleasure of the president, and we want better representation in each and every of those.
You can't explain why you fired any of them?
Gentleman's time's expired.
Following this high-stakes oversight clash, the Department of Defense Inspector General officially released its highly anticipated final report, confirming that the tactical launch data transmitted via the unsecured signal application was indeed marked as classified at the time of the text, prompting a formal congressional inquiry into Pentagon communication security. In direct response to the report's findings, the House Armed Services Committee announced a bipartisan legislative push to mandate strict, automated endpoint encryption audits on all personal devices utilized by senior defense officials. Meanwhile, federal administrative courts received formal appeals from 3 of the fired generals, who are citing the Inspector General's data security revelations as part of a broader legal challenge against their sudden terminations. The political battlefield inside the House Armed Services Committee erupted into a fierce, highly partisan clash over military accountability and operational security. Massachusetts Democratic Representative Seth Moulton launched a relentless, direct cross-examination against Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, accusing the Pentagon's top official of bypassing critical safety protocols. Moulton went on the offensive immediately, pressing Hegseth on the sudden, controversial dismissal of 8 senior military generals and admirals, including the Army's Judge Advocate General. When repeatedly asked to provide the specific reasoning behind these high-level terminations, Hegseth deflected, maintaining that the officers served entirely at the pleasure of the president and that the administration sought better representation across the branches. The confrontation rapidly shifted to an intense debate over the handling of classified intelligence and the baseline definition of operational security. Moulton sharply targeted Hegseth's past use of an unsecured, personal device to transmit sensitive launch times for F-18 fighter jets over enemy territory via a signal group chat. The lawmaker argued that Department of Defense regulations strictly mandate the explicit marking of any classified tactical data, such as strike windows and asset deployments. Hegseth fiercely defended the actions, countering that the mission against Houthi militants in Yemen was an incredible tactical success, and that his communications did not include specific unit names, targets, or compromised intelligence methods. As the temporal pacing grew increasingly hostile, the discussion turned toward the financial and strategic efficacy of the administration's Middle Eastern naval operations. Moulton questioned the massive expenditures of the campaign, noting that the missile strikes cost hundreds of millions of dollars while failing to restore normal commercial shipping lanes. The lawmaker pointed out that despite claims of a highly successful intervention, the total number of U.S.-flagged commercial vessels safely transiting the Red Sea remained at 0. Hegseth vigorously rejected this metric of failure, stating that the administration had responsibly deployed military assets to hold hostile forces accountable for targeting American ships. The sharp institutional standoff closed with a bitter dispute over whether accountability guidelines apply equally to the Pentagon's highest-ranking civilian leaders. Moulton demanded to know if Hegseth would take personal responsibility if the Inspector General's final assessment explicitly proved that the transmitted data was classified at the time of the text. Hegseth concluded his testimony by reiterating that he serves at the pleasure of the Commander-in-Chief, prompting critics on the panel to argue that the Secretary was dodging administrative transparency. The viral exchange highlighted a deepening structural divide on Capitol Hill regarding leadership integrity and the protection of sensitive national security infrastructure.